What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom. In particular, guys, today we are talking about how this chapter just changed everything. But before we get into that, guys, if you're new here and you're a fan of Kingdom, click the subscribe button because we talk a lot about Kingdom. And for everyone else, if you like the video, it really helps out when you like the video. Oh man, I don't even know where to start with this chapter, guys. There is so much to talk about when it comes to this chapter. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, I made a list of 10 things that I really want to discuss when it comes to this chapter. But 3 of those things in particular are game changers to me. And I'll be sure to let you know when one of them comes up. But to me, this chapter was amazing. Like, Hara is a genius. I'm loving the direction, man. I am loving the direction we're going here. So I'm going to try to talk about this stuff in order, but who knows? I don't know how this video is going to go, right? But the first thing we're going to talk about is, guys, it looks like our girl Kyokai isn't the only one who wants to climb mountains around these parts, right? Kane, with her awkward back hug last chapter, seems to think that she has now exposed her true feelings to Riboku. And what are those feelings, you may ask?
I want to have your baby.
And I admit, it was kind of cute the way Kane was acting afterwards. You know what I mean? She was like dodging him and trying to avoid him, blushing, hiding behind everybody else at the meeting. And I don't know, even though Riboku seemed like he kind of brushed it off, afterwards, you have to admit that ponytail was floating again. Just saying, Fute, it's not looking good, my friend. And the second thing we got to talk about, guys, is Riboku's 3 options. When he was talking about these 3 options, I'm thinking to myself, whoa, we were just talking about this last week in the last video. And I'm like, is he going to actually say the 3 options we brought up? And of course not. But 2 out of 3 isn't bad, right? So the 3 options wound up being either run, fight, or surrender. So we know surrendering was never in the cards because they would have all been executed if they did that. But I actually thought Riboku's reasons for not fighting was pretty interesting, saying that anyone who took the throne by force wouldn't be accepted by the people of Zal. So I guess the people of Zal have their limits, but it's amazing what they're willing to put up with otherwise, right? So that pretty much explains to us why Prince Ka can't forcefully take back the throne. But again, we see a vast difference between someone like Riboku and Osen, because when Sansuiju suggests that Riboku ascend to the throne, we see just how quick he is to nip that shit in the bud. But guess what? Had that been Osen,
oh, this is delicious!
So the option he chose was to actually keep running. But they're not just running anywhere, are they? They're actually running to Seika, the city that is under Shibasho's rule, which is actually our 3rd topic and one of the game changers I was talking about. It's been so crazy that for months I've been talking about Shibasho. I've been bringing Shibasho up in almost every single video. And then finally last week, I made a conscious effort not to bring up Shibasho's name. I started thinking, dude, I know these guys are tired of hearing me talk about Shibasho, and he never gets mentioned, he never shows up. And then what happens this chapter? Boom, perfect timing, here comes Shibasho. I'm sitting here like, you gotta be kidding, right? But no, guys, seriously, I am glad to see that these guys are finally linking up. And I actually think Riboku's plan is genius. And it kind of touches on the option I had last week about Riboku negotiating. But in Riboku's plan, instead of him going to them, he is going to wait, bide his time, and build up military strength until eventually Kakukai and the prince have to come to them for help. Because by Bananji's predictions, it should only take them a year before this happens. And being that they're in Seika with Shibasho, and the fact that Chin is actually invading right now, they should be safe until that time. And once the Chin have the upper hand and they come groveling for Riboku, at that point Riboku will have leverage and be able to negotiate his terms. But the 4th topic I have to discuss, guys, is that Kakukai is such a snake, man. And it's not like I didn't know this already, but this guy is using Riboku's strategies that he told him when he was in jail to hold off the Chin forces right now. For some reason, I just found that so crazy. I'm like, obviously you see that Riboku's tactics work, right? So maybe it would be wise to work with them. But you can just see that he's loving it right now, being in control and having all this praise heaped on him. But sooner or later, it's only a matter of time before he's exposed. Riboku's beginning tactics for this battle are only going to get him so far. So I kind of like that he's using it because he's going to see that it works. So when he runs out of ideas, he's definitely going to go running back to Roboku to try to bring him back to the battlefield. Which brings me to the fifth thing I wanted to talk about, which is that Kocho seems to be legit, right? And the only reason I wanted to bring that up is because right now with Zao missing some of their key figures, namely like Roboku and Shibasho, Kocho is holding it down, I'm assuming, all by himself against Osen, Yotawa, Kanki. I mean, to me, that's a major feat right now. And even though I don't think we're going to see too much from him right now because of the next topic I'm about to discuss, but I really think when we finally get to see Kocho in real action, he won't be a disappointment. The sixth topic on our list is the second game changer that I wanted to talk about, and that is the fact that we are stepping away from Zao. And it was set up beautifully by Hara. Like all this time, we've been thinking that we were getting set up for another battle with Zao. But honestly, after seeing that Roboku's going into training mode for the next year, I don't think we're going to see anything in Zao. Yeah, we may get tidbits here and there, but with the bomb that the narrator just dropped, saying that this year would see China engulfed in an unexpected war between 3 states, to me seems like a clear sign that we are leaving Zao and we are venturing to other states. And I am actually very, very excited about where this could possibly go. I mean, personally, I've been enjoying where these chapters have been going, and I didn't care if we fought Zao again. But I know a lot of people have been frustrated with staying in Zao and they were expecting to see other states. Well, it looks to me like you're finally going to get your wish. So I have no idea what states could possibly be getting into it here, but obviously it would have to be states that border each other. So if I was to take a guess, I would think Chu would be one of the states because you kind of want to start showing their younger generation, right? And if Han was to be one of the states they were fighting, I wouldn't mind that much either because we haven't really seen too much from their military yet. So those two would stand out and possibly we get Wei involved with that battle, right? So those could be the 3 states. And maybe if Wei's not involved, Chin's involved, and we get to see maybe Mobu in action. But other than that, the only other states that seem to touch are Qi, Yan, and Zhao, so I really don't see them getting too involved in anything right now. So I'm kind of banking on it being the first scenario, but you never know. And I'm expecting this war to be an amazing story arc, but the thing is, I don't know whether it comes before or after our number 7 thing, which is our final game changer, that Ryo Fui is back. Yes, the enigmatic man himself has made an appearance. And when I saw his name and I saw him at the end of this chapter, my jaw literally dropped. I was in shock. I was literally in shock, guys. Listen, guys, when I first started doing Kingdom videos a long time ago, one of the very first videos I did was why is Ryo Fui still alive? Why is he still breathing? And if you guys want to check that video out, I'll leave a link above. It was like literally one of my first videos. It's so terrible, but yeah, go check it out. But finally, like 3 years later, I'm getting answers to the question I asked in that video. So yeah, just like most of us suspected, Ryo Fui is still alive, and no, he's not in prison. He hasn't been banished from the lands. It appears to me he's pretty much just chilling. So after all this time, we find out that what happened to Ryo Fui is that he was stripped of his rank and he was forced into early retirement at the city of Canaan. So when it comes down to it, I think Ryo Fui's sentence was so light because obviously he's very influential and holds a lot of sway politically, not to mention the fact that he's filthy rich. But when you see the wording of the way Mr. Shi's saying it, like he was stripped of his rank due to his manipulation of the Roai incident, that to me says a lot. Like they weren't able to pin as much as they wanted to directly on Ryo Fui. So basically there wasn't enough evidence to give him like the death penalty. But even still, no matter what the case, you would have thought they would have kept a closer eye on someone as dangerous as Ryo Fui. And it looks like they may have to pay for that because Ryo Fui hasn't been just sitting on his hands. He's been gathering people to him. In particular, all the people from factions who have lost to Ace over the years. Basically people from the Ketsu faction, the Roai faction, and even Ryo Fui's faction himself. Which brings us to the 8th topic I want to discuss, which are people who may resurface now in the story. So when I was looking back on a lot of these factions, there weren't a lot of guys to choose from because most of them are dead already. But there were 2 from these factions that I think could reappear now that Ryo Fui's back in the story. The first guys I think is actually Muta. He was not only connected to the Ketsu faction, but I think he was really more of a double agent for the Ryo Fui faction. We've already seen glimpses that he did not die in the first arc, and I think it would be pretty cool if he shows up now, but it also might mean that Ace's in a little bit of danger if he comes to visit Ryofui. I mean, it could wind up being like some sort of trap, right? The second character is actually a general from the state of Ai, Hanoki. We saw this guy escape at the end of the rebellion after he saw his son get executed, and I had a feeling then that this character wasn't done just yet, and it appears now is going to be the time that he comes back into the story. Obviously, he's still going to probably be bitter and want revenge, so we'll see where that goes. But the ninth thing we need to talk about, guys, is why was Mr. Shi so cautious when it came to Shohiken and Rishi? To me, it didn't make a lot of sense because Rishi and Shohiken would be fools to go back to Ryofui now, and I'm sure that they have to know that all this is going on too. The only reason I think he would want to keep it private is more because of what he says at the end about wanting to kill Ryofui. And the two of them being former vassals may be okay with him being banished, but might not want to see him dead. So perhaps he wants to keep it a secret so that just in case either one of them wanted to warn Ryofui about their plot. But the 10th and final thing we have to discuss, guys, is the fact that Ace wants to talk to Ryofui face to face himself. And to be honest, guys, the first thing that actually came to my mind is why? Like, what would be the point of this, right? I figured you guys already said everything that you need to say to each other. But after taking some time to think about it for a bit, I only can think of 2 reasons he would want to talk to Ryofui. The first being that it would be something about their past, right? He can maybe want to talk to him about his mother, or whether there was any truth to the fact that Ryofui may be his father, and just hash some of those topics out. But the other possibility is that he actually asked Ryofui to help him in his cause. And even though that sounds very far-fetched, you have to remember that Ryofui is very connected, especially when it comes to Zao. And Ace has been known to use any resource, even if it was his enemies, to help further his goals. So I think this has a slim chance of happening, but it is a possibility, so I definitely wanted to bring it up. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought about the chapter in the comments section below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.